this is one of the worst-run organizations in sports? The owners gallivanting around to NBA games and airports and stadiums, and look at your product, Jimmy. Oh, my God.
We're going to do our work on the quarterback market. It's too important of a position, and it's something that has to be solidified. I can't sit here and tell you today, whether the solution or the starter in 2026 is internal or external, but it's something that we're going to work through.
I want to know how much longer the owner's going to watch this crap, because the fans have had it. We deserve better. You're worried more about your stadium than you are your football team. That's the perception, Jimmy. And you allow these people. It's a joke. It's a joke. This franchise has become a joke. And I'm sick.
The Cleveland Browns just fired their head coach. Kevin Stefanski is gone after 6 seasons. The regime change everyone saw coming finally arrived. But here's where it gets absolutely wild. The guy who couldn't find a quarterback in 6 years just got promoted to run the entire show. And Tony Rizzo, he's furious.
A guy who has not produced a quarterback in 6 years. I thought the owner came off.
Let's set the stage. The Browns just wrapped up another disappointing season. 8 wins in 2 years. 8! That's not a typo. That's organizational malpractice. The franchise that's been searching for a quarterback since the Clinton administration just watched their rookie signal caller Shedeur Sanders show flashes of brilliance in 7 starts. The kid orchestrated a game-winning drive against the Bengals in Week 18. He got the job done when it mattered most. So naturally, when Browns general manager Andrew Berry steps to the podium, everyone expects clarity, everyone expects commitment, everyone expects something that resembles a plan at the most important position in football. What did we get instead? Corporate speak, Harvard talk, the kind of non-answer that makes your blood boil if you're a Browns fan who's been suffering through quarterback purgatory since 1999.
How will the quarterback question affect the head coaching search?
Well, it's certainly something that we're going to talk about a lot with the candidates, but it's maybe a little bit less on their particular view of the quarterback situation and more about their thoughts and planning for it.
Berry wouldn't commit to Shedeur Sanders as the starter for next season. Not even close. He's talking about doing his due diligence, exploring all options, internal versus external solutions. It's the kind of wishy-washy response that sent Rizzo into orbit on his morning show. And you know what? He's absolutely right to be furious. Here's the thing about Andrew Berry that drives Browns fans insane. This is a man who has presided over arguably the worst quarterback room management in recent NFL history. Think about it. 6 years as general manager, 6 years of swings and misses at the most critical position in sports. Baker Mayfield, shipped out. Deshaun Watson, that's a whole documentary waiting to happen. The parade of backup quarterbacks that cycled through Cleveland reads like a who's who of wait, that guy played for the Browns? And now, Jimmy Haslam just handed this man the keys to the entire operation. The same Andrew Berry who apparently learned about quarterback evaluation at the School of Hope and Pray? The same guy who constructed a quarterback room so dysfunctional that Rizzo can't barely contain his rage when discussing it. But here's where it gets truly baffling. Shedeur Sanders just gave you 7 games of tape. 7 games where he showed poise, showed arm talent, showed the kind of competitive fire you dream about in a franchise quarterback. The kid drove down the field with the game on the line against Cincinnati and set up the game-winning field goal. That's not nothing. That's not a prospect you casually dismiss with "we'll do our due diligence." That's a building block. That's hope. That's exactly what this tortured fan base has been begging for. Yet Andrew Berry can't even give Browns fans the basic courtesy of saying Shedeur is our guy moving forward. Not even a commitment, not even a lukewarm endorsement. Just more corporate hedging from a front office that's been hedging for 6 years while the quarterback position burns to the ground. Rizzo isn't buying it. Cleveland isn't buying it. And honestly, nobody should be buying it. The timeline here is absolutely crucial. Jimmy Haslam admitted yesterday that the next 120 days will define this franchise for the next 3 years. 120 days to find a head coach, 120 days to figure out the quarterback situation, 120 days to nail the draft, 120 days that could save or sink this entire organization.
In the most crucial, you yourself admitted, the next 120 days, 120 days are crucial for this franchise. And it will decide what happens to this franchise for the next 3 years.
And who's leading this charge? A general manager who's never hired a head coach before. A general manager whose track record at quarterback evaluation is somewhere between disastrous and historically awful. A general manager who just told you he can't commit to the one bright spot from this nightmare season. The math isn't mathing, folks. Let's talk about what's really happening here. Andrew Berry is protecting himself. He's leaving wiggle room. He's maintaining optionality because that's what executives do when they're terrified of being wrong again. But here's the problem. This franchise doesn't have time for optionality anymore. This franchise doesn't have the luxury of another year of quarterback roulette. Browns fans have watched 25 years of this nonsense, 25 years of competition at quarterback, 25 years of bringing in veterans, drafting projects, hoping some undrafted free agent catches lightning in a bottle. It's exhausting, it's soul-crushing, and it's exactly what Andrew Berry is setting up for year 7.
How fast can you, I guess, get to where your team is watchable again, and just a better product?
Yeah.
So Berry acknowledges Shedeur came through in the clutch. He acknowledges the kid delivered when it mattered most, but he still won't commit to him as the starter. Make it make sense. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders is sitting there wondering if his own team even believes in him. The kid just completed his rookie season. He showed enough that any competent organization would be building around him, developing him, committing resources to maximize his potential. Instead, Cleveland is talking about exploring the quarterback market, looking at external options, keeping their options open.
May be just as hard because of all the different challenges and things that you face. And so what we're going to do, we're going to ensure that we have a process that is well defined in terms of what we're looking for and what the role will be specific to our organization.
Translation: we're not sold. We're lukewarm. We're hedging our bets. That's not how you develop a young quarterback. That's how you destroy his confidence before he ever gets a real chance. And Rizzo gets it. Rizzo understands that this isn't about blind loyalty to Shedeur Sanders. This is about organizational philosophy. This is about whether the Browns have learned anything from 2 decades of dysfunction. This is about whether Andrew Berry understands that indecision at quarterback is its own form of decision, and it's usually the wrong one.
I'm not going to sit here for the next 6 bleeping months and just rail on Andrew Berry. It's not going to happen. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to do what we do for everybody. We're going to do what we're going to do for the new head coach. God knows who that's going to be.
The irony is absolutely delicious. Kevin Stefanski got fired partly because the offense stagnated, because they couldn't develop quarterback play, because pre-snap penalties and conservative play calling made Browns games unwatchable. But guess who constructed the roster that produced those results? Guess who built the offensive line that couldn't protect? Guess who assembled the receiver room that couldn't separate?
When the outside looking in, when there's a split where you remain, Kevin is let go, it almost gives off this sense that maybe there was a divide between you.
Andrew Berry survived, while Kevin Stefanski got axed. And now Berry wants us to trust him with the most important decision this franchise will make in years. The same guy who completely whiffed on the quarterback position for 6 consecutive years now wants to explore all options instead of committing to the talented rookie who just showed real promise. It's madness. It's Browns football in its purest form. It's exactly why Rizzo can barely contain his frustration. Here's what kills Browns fans, and Rizzo articulated this perfectly. Barry actually had a decent draft last year. He finally showed signs of growth. The team got younger and more athletic. For the first time in his tenure, you could squint and see a vision. You could see a plan taking shape.
Is Andrew Berry trending in the right direction? Yes. Yes. That's not a made-up take. That's not a pro Andrew Berry, his uncle's take. He's trending up. He had a good draft. Not the draft we need, but a good draft. Solid players, 4 to 5 players, and Shedeur is your wild card.
And then he opens his mouth about the quarterback situation, and all that goodwill evaporates instantly. Because if you can't get the quarterback right, nothing else matters. Not your defensive line, not your offensive tackles, not your shiny new pass rushers. Without a quarterback, you're just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. The quarterback market isn't exactly loaded with solutions either. Who's Andrew Berry gonna find that's definitively better than Sanders? Some veteran retread looking for one last paycheck? Another draft prospect who'll need 2 years to develop? The grass isn't greener on the other side when you've been living in a desert for 25 years. Shedeur Sanders represents something Cleveland hasn't had in forever: stability. The kid showed enough that you can confidently say he's our guy for the next 3 years minimum. You can build an offense around his skill set. You can hire a head coach who's excited to develop him. You can create actual continuity at the position for the first time since Bernie Kosar. But that requires courage. That requires conviction. That requires Andrew Berry to look in the mirror and admit he might have actually gotten something right with Sanders. And based on his press conference performance, that's apparently too much to ask. Rizzo's frustration represents every Browns fan who's sick of the same old song and dance, who's tired of competitions and evaluations and doing their due diligence, who just wants their team to pick a guy and stick with him long enough to find out if he's the answer. The next 120 days will reveal everything. Will Andrew Berry have the guts to commit to Shedeur Sanders? Will the new head coach believe in the young quarterback? Will this organization finally break the cycle of dysfunction that's defined it for a generation? Or will we be back here in 2 years watching Andrew Berry explain why the next quarterback experiment failed? Watching another regime change? Watching Cleveland reset the whole operation for the umpteenth time? Tony Rizzo isn't optimistic. Browns fans have every right to be skeptical. And Shedeur Sanders? He's probably wondering what he got himself into. The Cleveland Browns have 120 days to get this right. The clock is ticking, and based on Andrew Berry's refusal to commit to his rookie quarterback, it's already looking like another swing and miss from the factory of sadness. Some things never change in Cleveland, and that's exactly what has Tony Rizzo torching the Browns front office this morning.